What's up guys, Perry from Rockville here, and today I'm going to show you how to set up your MotionStrip motorized moving headlight bar. As you can see, it comes with the light itself, a power cable to power your light, and 2 mounting brackets along with 4 screws. Now one of the many ways we can use the MotionStrip is for wall washing. One of the ways we can do that is if we place the light against the wall, or we can actually place the light a few inches away from the wall. You can also place the light in front of the stage so that the light is facing the audience. And once you have it placed the way you want it, you can use any of the available features, which we're going to get to later on. Now the 2 included brackets allow us to mount the light onto a truss like you're seeing above me here. To do that, we're going to take 2 lighting clamps like our very own LC70s. We're going to want to unscrew this bolt piece here on both clamps. Next, we're going to line up this middle hole here of the bracket to the hole here on our clamp. Then we're going to run the bolt through the holes of the bracket and the clamp and screw it on to attach the 2 together. We're going to want to do the same exact thing for the second bracket and clamp here. So once you've assembled the brackets and the clamps, we're going to line up the holes on each side of the bracket and line them up to the holes here on the bottom of the light. Then you're going to take 2 of your screws, run them through the holes of the bracket, and screw them in to lock it in place. You can even use a 7x32 Allen key to firmly secure the brackets. We're going to want to do the same exact thing for the other side here. Now to attach the light onto the truss, we're going to loosen these butterfly screws here. Then we're going to line the clamps up to an open space on our truss and tighten the butterfly screws to secure the light onto the truss. You can also electrically daisy chain 2 of these lights together by using the power in and power out sockets. To do that, you're just going to take an additional power cable, take the 3-prong end and plug it into the power out socket of the light that's already powered, then take the other end and plug it into the power in socket on your next light. Now there are several mode options that we can toggle through using the buttons underneath the LED display. To change the mode, you're going to press the menu button. Then when you're in a mode, you can use the up and down buttons to cycle through each option, and press the enter button to save your changes. So let's go through all the different modes right now. The D mode allows you to set the DMX address for the 38 DMX channel mode, and the 9 menu allows you to set the DMX address for the 9 channel DMX mode. We're actually going to explain the difference between the 2 later on. We also have the auto mode where we can cycle between 22 different light effects. So when I cycle to auto mode, I can press enter to activate the effect, and then use the up and down button to cycle through each option. Now we can also find the sound mode in the auto mode menu. This will change the light every time the built-in microphone picks up sound. So for example, if I start to clap, you'll notice that the light starts changing. We also have the speed adjustment mode where we can set how fast we want the light to change in any of the auto modes. So the higher I set this setting, the faster it will change, and the lower I set this setting, the slower it's going to change. We also have the end setting where we can fine-tune the angle of the light, and we can angle it anywhere from 5 degrees to 270 degrees. Now keep in mind when you set the light to any of these angles, it will stay there for any mode you have the light set to. So for example, the higher I set this setting, the more you'll see the light come up, and if I lower this setting, it will come back down. However, if you want the light to move on its own for the auto modes, you're going to set this setting all the way to 0, and then your light will move completely on its own. Before that, we have the RP setting, which allows us to turn on or turn off the reverse motor spin for the light. This will change which direction the light is facing in any angle or mode. So if we angle the light to face forward and have the RP setting on, the light will stay forward, and if we turn it off, it will face the opposite direction. And again, this goes for any angle or mode, so if we have the light tilted like so, and switch the RP, it will face in the opposite direction. This could also affect how your lights pan with your DMX controller. Now, if you wanted to have control over multiple lights at once, you can always set up a DMX controller. So for the setup, I'm going to start with 1 DMX cable. I'm going to take the male end and plug it into the DMX out on my controller. Then I'm going to take the other end and plug it into the DMX in on my first light. And now to connect my first light to the second light, I'm going to grab another DMX cable, plug the male end into the DMX out on my first light, then take the other end and plug it into the DMX in on my next light. And if you wanted to set up even more lights, you're just going to repeat this process all the way down the chain. So now we need to set the lights to the same DMX channel mode, which will determine how much control we have over our lights with the controller. So we can pick between the 9-channel DMX mode or the 38-channel DMX mode. Using either of these is completely dependent on your needs or how much control you want to have over your lights. For example, the 9-channel mode gives us the basic functions of the pan and speed, the built-in auto effects and the speed for the effects, the master dimmer and the controls over the red, green, blue, and white LEDs. While the 38-channel mode gives us control over those functions, along with the color options for each bulb, even greater control over the auto effects, and much more. So to start, we're going to set the DMX address on both lights in the 9DMX mode, and set them both to 001. Next on our controller, we're going to activate scanner 1, and now we can go through all of the different faders and see what they do for our lights. Starting with fader 1, this controls the pan or the angle of the light, so the more I raise it, the more the lights will angle. Next we have fader 2, which controls how fast the lights will pan. So when we have this all the way down, the lights will pan pretty quickly. And if we raise fader 2 a little bit and pan our lights, you'll notice that they do a little slower. Next we have fader 3, where we can set the lights to the auto effect mode, and depending on where I leave fader 3 determines which auto effect comes on. Then we can use fader 4 to control the speed of the effects. So the more I raise fader 4, the faster the effects will go through. Next we have fader 5 that acts as our master dimmer, or how bright the LEDs come through. So for now I'm going to raise that all the way up. Next to that we have fader 6, which controls the red LEDs, so the more I raise that, the more you'll see the red coming through. Then we have fader 7 that controls the green LEDs, fader 8 that controls the blue LEDs, and fader 9 to control the white LEDs. So now we're going to set the lights to the 38-channel mode so we have even more control. So in 38-channel mode, fader 1 still acts as our pan control, fader 2 still acts as the pan speed, we can still use fader 3 to set the lights to an auto effect, and fader 4 to control the speed of the effect. Fader 5 will still act as our master dimmer, and now from fader 6 on is where it gets a little different. Fader 6 acts as a strobe mode when we have the other bulbs engaged, and next we have fader 7 to control the red LEDs coming out of the first bulb only. So I can raise fader 7 and then you'll see the red LED start to come out of the first bulb, and like I said, we can use fader 6 to activate the strobe mode. Next we have fader 8 to control the green LEDs coming out of the first bulb. Then we have fader 9 to control the blue LEDs coming out of the first bulb. Then we have fader 10 to control the white LEDs coming out of the first bulb. And next we have fader 11, which will control the red LEDs coming out of the second bulb. So this is really cool because this allows me to make custom colors for each bulb and set the color for each bulb to a different color. So I can raise faders 7 through 10 to activate all of the colors for my first bulb, and raise fader 11 to set the second bulb to red only. So then we have faders 12, 13, and 14 to control the green, blue, and white LEDs for our second bulb. Then we have fader 15 to control the red LED for the third bulb, and fader 16 to control the green LED for the third bulb. Now if you're using a standard DMX controller with 16 faders only, you can actually set up the next set of controls by unclicking scanner 1, lower the faders you had up previously, activate scanner 2, and from here we can go through the next set of controls. So now if I raise fader 1, you'll see that it picked up where it left off with the blue LED coming out of the third bulb. Now something to keep in mind before you go to activate scanner 2 for your next set of controls, while you still have scanner 1 activated, you'll want to set the brightness with fader 5, and which position you'd want to have your light in with fader 1. And as soon as you turn off scanner 1, your lights are going to remember these settings so you can move on to scanner 2. This way I can control the brightness of each bulb still, while keeping the light in the same position. This will also be the case if you have bulbs 1 to 3 set to a certain color. So now I have scanner 2 activated to control faders 17 through 32. So from here I can use the faders to set any color I want for bulbs 3 to 7. And now to activate faders 33 to 38, I can turn off scanner 2, activate scanner 3, and use the remaining faders for bulbs 7 and 8. And keep in mind you can jump between each scanner to make adjustments on each fader. Now say you wanted to have control over multiple of your lights but you didn't want to set up a DMX controller. You can still do this by using the master slave function. To set this up, I'm going to need one DMX cable. I'm going to plug the male end into the DMX out on my first light. Then I'm going to take the other end and plug it into the DMX in on the next light. If we wanted to set up another light in our chain, we would just take another DMX cable, plug the male end into the DMX out on the second light, then plug the other end into the DMX in on the next light, and repeat this process all the way down your chain. So if the first light in our chain acts as our master light, we're going to want to go to the other lights in our chain and set them to the same DMX address. We can use either the 9-channel or the 38-channel mode. For today's setup, I'm going to set it to the 9-channel mode and set the DMX address to 001. So now if I set my master light to any auto mode or sound mode, all of the slave lights in our chain are going to follow that. So hopefully this showed you guys how easy it is to set up your MotionStrip motorized moving headlight bars. But of course, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to our customer support team through phone or email. As always, I'm Perry from Rockville, and we'll see you guys next time.